this is technically a nonpartisan race, but it really feels deeply political. How much has that surprised you, and how much do you worry that that's a way of the things to come in Georgia, that this is just going to become normal in judicial elections?
Well, let me put a finer point on it. This is a partisan attack on a nonpartisan branch of government. Georgia's Constitution clearly says that Supreme Court justices are elected on a nonpartisan basis. I brought my Georgia Constitution here today. And when a Constitution says something, that means the people of Georgia made that decision. They ratified the Constitution. That's how we've always run our elections. And we take it really seriously. I take extremely seriously the nonpartisan nature of the job that I do and the election that I run. I've run a nonpartisan campaign. I'll continue to do it. But the attacks from the partisan nature are really concerning because it allows people to think that this is normal and that this is okay. And I don't think it is. This is not how we've done business in Georgia. And once we start openly trying to elect politicians to courts, we've lost the judicial branch. The judicial branch is no longer the independent, impartial, and fair branch of government that serves a check on the executive and the legislature. It becomes a second legislature. I don't think that's what the people of Georgia want, and I trust that that's what they don't want.
So voters do, of course, though, play a role. They choose justices in elections. What do you think should be the criteria? How should voters decide who to choose in these races, if not based on endorsements, if not based on who is coming out for them? What should they know about you, and how should they make this decision otherwise?
Well, Patricia, I'm glad you asked the question because I think it's tough for a lot of voters, especially, non-lawyers who are not in the courts on a day-to-day basis. And the best way that I can explain it is, I think people understand we have three branches of government and that the judicial branch is supposed to interpret and apply the law. And what makes our branch different is that we're overtly not political. We're, by our own terms, not political, but also that we take an oath to the Constitution of Georgia and the Constitution of the United States, and oaths as judges to be fair and impartial. And when people start to put policy platforms out there or to promise outcomes in cases, it compromises the fairness and impartiality that Georgians want. And so, I ask people when I'm campaigning to think about the day where maybe they come into our court, whether it's a child custody case, maybe they've been the victim of a crime, maybe they have a small business and they have some kind of existential contract issue. When you walk into court, you want to know that every judge who sits on our bench, and we have 9 of them on our bench, is fair and impartial and will interpret and apply the law based on the facts of that case, having not already predetermined a vote or an outcome against you. I think everybody wants to walk into court with a fair shake. So that's what I stand for. That's the oath that I've taken. That's the oath that I'll uphold.
Justice, you can't obviously talk about issues, single issues or policy platforms or how you rule on a case, but what can you tell us about your overall judicial philosophy?
Sure. Well, and your question's a great one because when you accept the role of being a judge and you take those oaths and you follow the judicial canons, not just because they're rules to follow, but because they really support the oath we take to be fair and impartial, we don't even give winks and nods. We're not supposed to be out there sort of saying, well, I believe in this thing, wink, wink, nod, nod, and speaking in code. I'm very forthright. I can't talk about those policy issues. I don't have a platform other than upholding my oath and working hard for the people of Georgia. I really believe my role as a judge is very important, but very limited. And it goes back to that separation of powers that I was talking about earlier. When you're a judge, the people of Georgia do elect us, and that's different than federal judges. So state judges are elected here in Georgia on this nonpartisan basis. But we're not elected to pass legislation, to rewrite legislation, to pass executive orders. That's what the legislature and the executive branch do. So if you're like me and you believe that judges have this unique and limited role, then what you're really trying to do is to stay in your lane and to be deciding those cases fairly and impartially and helping people in Georgia have confidence that their judicial branch is working. And I think it is working. And I hope people have that confidence because the truth is the rule of law really depends on the judicial branch working and people having confidence that judges are doing things the right way and deciding cases fairly and impartially.